Hi, I'm going to cover this hopefully real quick. I only have 17% of my battery left because I already made this video once. And unfortunately it was 50 minutes long, 50 plus minutes. And I don't want to do that to my subscribers again. So I'm going to try to go over this real quick. One, which power station do I prefer? This one. The reason being, even though the display's screwed up, it does have a longer runtime. The charging proved that. When this takes 11 hours to charge, when I charged this one, it took 8 to 8.5 hours. That meant it had approximately 30% of battery capacity left. And you can see a bunch of stuff here, and I'm going to go over that hopefully quickly. You can see I do have a solar panel on the window. This will take 90 watts input. I do have a 100 watt panel. It is charging. To reduce the amount of wattage coming in, I did cover part of the panel up to reduce the amount coming in. Hopefully I can go over everything before my phone shuts down. This has been charging since last night at 10 o'clock. This is supposed to charge within 7 to 8 to 9 hours, I think 9 hours tops. I started charging this last night around 10 o'clock. It is now 10:19. That has been charging for 12 hours. When I first plugged this in last night, that power box there got so hot I could not even touch it. So, out of the two, the HomeYears is my best buy, and for various reasons. Even with all the stuff that you need to hook up solar and a 12 volt port and everything else, I'm going to go over the cost where you can find cheap stuff, hopefully, and I'm going to go over the cost for everything. It is still cheaper than this. Right now this is $199. That is way too expensive for this. It barely made the 10-hour test on my chest freezer, and it did not want to start and come on properly when I first started the video. It literally took me 5 minutes to get this thing to start working. I have no clue what I did to get it to start, but it finally started after about 5 minutes. And since this barely hit the 10-hour mark, and I mean barely, it shows 0. Not only can this display not be right, but it is seriously off, because at 9 hours this read 27%, and on hour 10 it was at 0. There's no way this would have lost 27% in an hour, unless this was wrong. I did keep track of it hourly, and if you watch my video on this, you'll notice I wrote down the percentage every single hour, just like I did with this one. So, which one would I choose? This one, absolutely. For a variety of reasons, it's much easier to start, it's much easier to use. Now, you will have to buy a couple items if you want, like a 12 volt port. I do have a cigarette lighter here. I have a 12 volt port coming. It's just not here yet. I do have the solar hooked up. This is a Bluetti cable that I cut the end off of, and it is charging without an issue. Now, I'm going to run this heater and show you. This heater pulls 270 watts. Now, I do have a brand new panel here. This is literally brand new. I just took it out of the box. You can still see it had literally everything still on the panel. Now, as far as this goes, you can run DC and AC at the same time, but I prefer not to. Let's shut that off because I don't need that running. Now I have the DC on. It's easier to get it here. Excuse me a minute. And here. So the solar input is working. The 12 volt is working. Now, I do have a fuse on mine. I always have a fuse. That's just me personally. You know what? DC's still on, so let's check something. This is a car charger for mine and my girlfriend's laptop, or Dell's. If it powers, there's a little light. There's the light, so it has power. Now I'm going to go over what it took to actually create this Frankenstein monster here really quick. Hopefully I have the battery capacity left. And I'm going to show you what you need to get. And even with everything, this is still cheaper. And it has a longer runtime. Even though I hate the display does not work properly. Neither does the other one. So it doesn't matter. You will need to get 2 of these if you're going to put a 12-volt power port on it. Right here. You will need some wire. And you will need some of these. Now these fit literally both the DC ports on literally the solar and the DC ports on both this and this. And you're probably going, okay, so what is it? Where'd you find it? How much is it? I'm going to cover the cost of this right now. Once again, this takes 90 watts as far as solar goes. That's why you can see part of my panel is covered. This is a 100-watt panel. If you get a 30 or 50 watt panel with smaller cables, you can literally just cut these ends off, find out what's positive, what's negative, and wire them straight in if you want to, because this has a positive and negative. This is positive, this is negative. And you can wire them straight on the cable if you want to, if you don't want to buy an adapter like this. But the wires have to be smaller because these are really tiny. I mean, they're small. And the opening is pretty small too. So, let's go over the cost and what I got. Now you can see I have like 10 of these. So if you get one of these and don't want to cut your cable or wiring to be able to hook up 12 volt or anything else or solar charging, if you want a 12 volt power port, you will need 2 of these. You will need some of these. And I'm going to go over everything right now. A 5-pack of these for $5, and you really only need 2, 3 at the most, because you only have your solar charging port and your 2 12-volt plugs, your 12-volt ports. So 3 at the most. You can get 5 of these for $249. They are 5X male DC power jack connector, adapter plug, 2.1 X 5.5 mm for audio / CCTV / LED. Now I have not checked to see if these can handle a 10 amp, because I would never pull anything that's 10 amps out of this. Even my ARB fridge doesn't pull 10 amps. It pulls like 4 amps at max. So I would never pull anything from 10 amps through something like that. I would not even run our coffee pot up there off of this power station. It would literally kill it. Something like the coffee pot, I would run off my solar system. Not this. So we're at $249. Yeah, I just messed up. There we go. The power port I'm waiting on is one of these. It does have the positive and negative. You can see here, positive, negative. It's just a 12-volt power port. I'm waiting on this. If you buy one, it is $449. It is a 12-volt or 12V, little v, cigarette lighter socket power outlet socket receptacle car motorcycle SUV. Just look for a 12-volt power port and lowest first. Midnight, really? Here is the Bluetti solar charging cable that I purchased. This is the end that I cut off. I do not need that. It will not fit a power station other than Bluetti, but this is the cheapest cable you can find. I cut it off, stripped it back, and you know, the black and red wires are there. This was $9. And you're going, okay, this stuff's starting to add up here, huh? Here is the HomeYears 518 watt hour portable power station ES slash 518 watt hour outdoor solar generator. This is what I have right over there. If you buy one of these, make sure it is the 518 watt hour and not the 300 watt hour. You want the larger capacity, and literally they are the same price. And it is still $168. And you're going, okay, this is adding up. Yeah, okay. Let's get to the adding up. Now, I am going to add in, of course, maybe $3, $4. I figure $4 for a pack of these if you want a 12-volt port. If you don't want a 12-volt port, you don't need these or the 12-volt plug or the wire. So you can figure, you can probably get the wire and these for less than $7 easily. Alright, let's close this and go to my calculator. Even if I added another $10 for the wire and these. Now, I do have a fuse on mine. I always put a fuse on everything. You don't have to. You just need some wire. That's it. And it doesn't have to be different color wires. You could just get one wire like a red wire and wrap some black tape around it, or wrap some tape around the ends to know what's positive and what's negative. The red solid wire would be positive. Your wire that's red with tape around it would be negative. Easy. No problem. So, even if I added $7 or $8, let's add $8 for these ends and the wire. We're at $190, $198. All right, and think about this. $190, $198. This right now is $199.99. Now, unless you have a phone that charges wirelessly, you're going to use the USB. Wireless charging is a waste of space. It uses power. You'll lose a lot of power doing that. So it's best to charge through the USBs anyway. Now let's talk about this one. It had a problem turning on when I started my test. It literally took me 5 minutes to get the stuff to actually start turning on. I don't know why it did that. I had to turn it off and on several times, hold the buttons down. I still don't know how I got it to actually turn on. So, this didn't want to turn on. That added an extra 5 minutes literally to my run time on my 10-hour test on my chest freezer. There is no way this is right either. Neither one of these have displayed this right. Okay? But after 3.5 hours, this one dropped. And this one started registering. This one has to be closer. The reason I say it has to be closer is because when I went to charge this, it takes 11 hours to charge. It took between 8 and 8.5 hours, and it was fully charged. This one has to, it had to have a better reading on it, because you're looking at 25 to 35% left in the batteries, only having to charge for 8.5 hours compared to 11-hour charging. This, on the other hand, was completely dead. I can say that because I plugged this in at 10:30 last night. This is supposed to charge within 8 hours. It is 10:32 the next morning. It is over 12 hours, and this is still charging. And last night, that box got so hot, I could not even touch it, let alone hold it in my hand. It was that hot. So let's go over this. For still cheaper than that, still cheaper, you can get solar charging. You can get a 12-volt port, and that includes the wire and the connections. Now these have little screw down things, so all you do is slip your wire up in there and screw the screw down right here. Like I said, I have not tested this on 10 amps. I do not have anything other than that pulls 10 amps. I would not pull 10 amps out of this. That would be dumb. Um, it would just completely wipe this. I do believe this has a better DC to AC power inverter in it for the 110. As you can see, like I said, it is hooked up to a 100 watt panel. I would go, if you can possibly get one, and if you are having to put this in full sun, approximately a 50 watt panel. See if I can, that's ohms, amps. I'm not worried about all that. Well, I don't have a way for mine to read watts, so I can't really tell you what's going on with that. As far as the solar, it is bringing in power. I already know that. It is bringing in 12 volt, and it is charging. Now, I did, like I said, I already did a video that was literally 50 minutes long, and I had the heater running. I had other stuff plugged in. I had a light plugged in, and that's why it's charging, because I already drew some power out of it. But unfortunately, the display on this sucks. But you do have the 12 volt ports right there. You do have 12 volt here. You have the solar charging. And I do have a brand new panel. Go on. Sorry about that. My stuff's falling down. So, out of these two, which is the best deal? This one. It has higher capacity as far as the batteries, longer run time. It's easier to use. You just push a button in. Literally, you push a button in. Do not rely on this. This display sucks. I don't know if this has pass-through. I can't tell. That's an issue and a problem. If you require something with pass-through, then I don't know if this has it or not. I believe it does, but I can't be sure. And like I say, I always put fuses on everything. I have a 4 amp fuse in here now. I do put fuses on everything. You don't have to if you don't want to. That's an extra cost for the fuse holder and the fuse. Like I say, you don't have to if you don't want to. But I always do. Once again, this is hooking up solar. And yes, this will plug in. The solar will plug into this. But unfortunately, this has a lower charging. My 100 watt panel is too much power for this. Even with part of the panel covered, this literally cannot take more than like 70 watts as far as a panel, something like that, 50 watts, something like that. My 100 watt panel is just too much. So if you live in an apartment, you need a power station to run something like a chest freezer, computer, TV, you know, whatever. As long as it's under 500 watts, this is the one I go with. It's cheaper. If you do not need the 12 volt DC port because you don't have like 12 volt junk, it's going to be cheaper. Then all you would have to do is get a solar panel, the solar charging cable, and a couple of these. And these are like $2.50 for like 5 of them. So, you know, this is a much better deal. It is a much better built unit. And you're going, well, the display's off. The display's off on this one too. And the reason I know that is because at 9 hours on my test, this read 27%. And by hour 10, this thing was at 0, ready to die. So there's no way that display's right either. So since you can't rely on the display of either one, and this one did absolutely start working around the 3.5 hour mark running my chest freezer. And I believe this one was much, much closer because the way this charged was a lot less time than it actually needed. 8.5 hours, when this takes 11 hours to charge from empty. This had to have a lot of battery power left. This one, 10 hours and almost 40 minutes, and it's still charging. This thing should have been charged within 8 hours. 9 max. I will give it 9. But this thing was so dead that it's 12 hours and almost 40 minutes, and it's still charging. If you need me to post links to like these, that's fine, and to the cable, that's fine. I'm more than welcome to post the links where I got these, or you can just ask me and I can post it in the comment section where I got these from. So if you want to get a power station, my advice, $168. It does work. It does have a lot more power than a lot of them, especially for under $200. You know, this, like I said, the display sucks. I don't care. It is charging off solar. If you're going to get a panel for this, I would get a 50, maybe a 70 watt panel. Like I said, it says it can take in 90 watts, but I haven't seen a 90 watt panel. So I don't know if it's pulling in from the 100 watts or not. I mean, it is, obviously. It's charging. I showed you the 12 volts coming in, and it is charging. I don't know if me covering part of this panel is actually helping any, or if the sun going out of straight view is helping any. But since I plugged this in, the light's been on, and the sun literally was right over there when I first plugged this in. I mean, it was so bright right here, it wasn't funny. And this was working, even with this 100 watt panel. Alright, I'm fixing to go. I apologize. This video is still pretty long, but it is much, much shorter than the last one I made on this. Once again, everything needed to create a 12 volt port with wire, connectors, everything, and solar, everything without this solar panel. That is an extra cost no matter what, but that's with the solar charging cable, everything. $191.98 for this setup, or $199.99 for this. I'm sorry, this one wins hands down in my book. Also, like I said, we would use this only strictly for our chest freezer, nothing more. For lights, we have a bunch of these. Well, we have 3 of these. And the little solar panel stays in the window at all times. These lights are always fully charged. Oh, excuse me. Alright, that's it. I'm fixing to go. Didn't mean to cough on you there. And like I said, it is charging. No issues. And like I said, these little fittings here, these little connectors. If you want a power port, 12 volt. Alright, that's it. I'm fixing to go. Everyone have a good day. I hope this helps somebody out. And yes, these, I don't remember if I showed you or not, will fit there. And these even fit there. So, if you have one like that and you need solar charging, these do work, these do fit. Or, for some reason, you need another 12 volt port or something like that, which I don't know why you would with this. But, that's it. I'm fixing to go. Everyone have a good day. And any questions, feel free to ask. Bye.